everyone. What is up? It's 2 minutes in the box with Gordo, episode 3, season 6. Hell of a night last night, opening night, everybody. What a turnout event. What a great debut for Utah Hockey Club. The Florida Panthers winning against the Boston Bruins. That rivalry is intense, and I love it. And Cassie Campbell making her debut as an assistant coach to the Seattle Kraken under Dan Bielema, the first female full-time assistant coach in NHL history. I gotta say, wow. And I'll say this, St. Louis Blues win this game. The Panthers win their home opener banner raising night. I'll get that to a sec. And Utah knows how to rock the Delta Center. Okay, first off, what a night for this rivalry, this intense rivalry between the Boston Bruins and the Florida Panthers. Jam-packed, sold-out crowd, amazing atmosphere. The Stanley Cup was in the building, photo op with the cup before being returned to the Stanley Cup keeper and going back to Toronto. And it's unfortunate that I want to get a picture with the Stanley Cup not until December now, but that's another day. But now, this right here, this game was intense. 6-4 was the final. The Panthers just obliterated, the Boston starting goaltender, Capasolo. I'll say this. Boy, that fan base in Florida, savage. They've been wanting, we want Swayman. And I'll say, wow, this crowd is into it. Straight up into it. And Boston, they came back strong in the third period with 2 quickies in the last few minutes of the game. They had no message. The Panthers just dominated. Sam Bennett, Evan Rodriguez, those two look great. Matthew Tkachuk getting an assist on one of the goals. And they play great. AJ Greer, the Buquist brothers, they look great. And I'll say this about Boston. Elias Lindholm, he was a bit quiet out there. Charlie McAvoy looked spectacular as usual. And, Zadorov, he made some very reckless penalties. And Frederick, the number 49 for the Bruins, good God, you slash a referee, you get an unsportsmanlike conduct. That's just like, they have hard feelings still that they got their ass kicked by the Florida Panthers. That right there was just an interesting matchup. And the Panthers came along with the win. Bob was spectacular as usual. Carpasolo, I'll say this. You'll be back. You'll be fine. You got a good team around you, but it was just not your night. Boston, you guys will be just fine. Swayman will be starting next game, hopefully. And that was a heck of a night. Great buzz and great energy in the stands last night. I know we got a hurricane going on in South Florida and the entire state of Florida. But overall, I got to say that was a mission accomplished night. All right. Now, let's get to the other 2 games in the NHL last night. The Kraken and the St. Louis Blues. Seattle's first game of the year, and it was their first ever home opener in the first game of the year in franchise history. And Cassie Campbell made her assistant coaching debut in the first female coach full-time. Congratulations to her. Dan Bielema, the former Jack Adams winner, Stanley Cup champ of the Pittsburgh Penguins. That was a great night. It was a great night in Seattle, but they got the loss. St. Louis played well. And the Blues, they are a fast, young team. Under the radar, they're good, but I just don't think they got the playoff mentality yet. I still think they've got ways to go. You've got Torrey Krug, who's not going to be playing for the season and possibly for the foreseeable future. They look good, but it's only been one game. Both. I got to say this. The Panthers, they sold out last night. Kraken, they sold out Climate Pledge Arena, a.k.a. Key Arena. And it was a good night, the game was at 1:30 in the afternoon. Very unusual on a Tuesday, but hey, I'm not the one making the schedule right. So, and the main event not only we had the banner raising of the Florida Panthers against the Boston Bruins, we had the main event, the first ever NHL game in Salt Lake City, a regular season game ever in the state of Utah's history. Utah Hockey Club. It was a sold out, festive, fun atmosphere at the Delta Center. The calculations say it was like 11,800, but overall it was like 16,050. Sold out crowd. But 11,000 something seats were basically, we had full, like, had main views of the ice, but the obstruction views, if you count that, I tell you, that barn was awesome. Dylan Gauthier played amazing. 2 goals, scored the first ever goal in Utah hockey history. They were spectacular. I mean, just, Arizona Coyotes former owner, Alex Miller, what a moron. You sold the team, you skipped town, and you're missing out. That people in Phoenix are going to be missing out on a future top team that could be potentially winning the Stanley Cup in the next 5, maybe 10 years down the road. I mean, Salt Lake City is a winter sports town. It was vibrant. And the festivities, the concerts, Ryan and Ashley Smith, and the finisher coming out of the ice, for the opening ceremony, puck drop. I'll tell you, that was spectacular. The Utah Jazz came out in support. The players, they're excited to have an NHL team. And the best player, who's the finisher, he came out there in his skates. He could skate. I mean, he looked like he's 8 feet on the ice. He looked like a natural out there. And it was a festive, fun game. Clayton Keller got on the board. Lawson Krause got one as well. It was loud. I mean, you can hear the broadcasters on ESPN. You couldn't hear the goal horn. That is a fiery, passionate sports town in Salt Lake City. They were a loud and proud crowd. It was just spectacular at the Delta Center. Connor Bedard, he came out, he played well. He got 2 assists. And it was very loud. I mean, it was one of those moments like saying, wow, hockey is finally arrived in Utah. They should have gone there a long time ago. They should have just gone there a long time ago. But they were uncertain if the market could support another major pro sports team. They've done well with the Utah Jazz. Salt Lake City's done spectacular with the Utah Jazz for a very long time. The support is there. Community-wise is strong. Utah has become a Silicon Valley of the Rocky Mountains, and they have become the #1 sports hub in the country. And it's no surprise. They might get Major League Baseball coming there soon. And Utah is a beautiful state, great mountains, great ski resorts, you name it. Salt Lake City, you guys, welcome to the NHL. I love the fan support and the energy. You guys were awesome out there last night. I would love to come out to Salt Lake City. Hit me up. Anyone from Utah who's watching this right now, hit me up. I would love to come to Salt Lake City for an NHL game. Any team, I don't care. I would love to experience the atmosphere in the Delta Center. Hit me up. All right, now, contract extensions. We've had 3 major big deal contract extensions today. All the pundits and critics are saying, Linus Ullmark's going to be a one and done in Ottawa, but he just signed a 4-year extension worth $8.25 million, $33 million contract extension. He just got the same amount of money as Jeremy Swayman. And Ottawa, they didn't botch it. He's in it for the long haul. I like this signing. Linus is going to be the backbone for the Ottawa Senators, and I think he knows that he's got the faith and confidence in the roster around him. And I believe that Ottawa, like I said, they'll be a playoff team this season. And speaking of a contract extension, the Florida Panthers announced right after the game, Bill Zito, the GM of the Florida Panthers and the president of Hockey Ops, announced that Carter Verhaeghe, a 8-year, $56 million contract extension, boy, he is very swifty and crafty when it comes to contracts and negotiations. They're keeping that core together for a very long time. And the $1 million question is, how in God's name are going to get a contract extension for Aaron Ekblad and Sam Bennett? That is going to be the $1 million question. They're keeping this core for the longest time, and I think the Florida Panthers are going to be a team to be reckoned with for years and years and years to come. I mean, congratulations to Carter Verhaeghe. He's had a crazy journey. Originally playing with the Maple Leafs, the New York Islanders. He got bounced around to going to Tampa Bay, Dallas to Tampa, and he finally found a home with the Florida Panthers. And I'll tell you, Carter Verhaeghe, you are a fan favorite, and you are Mr. Clutch and one of the biggest clutch players in the Florida Panther history. Unbelievable. And the Seattle Kraken, they officially signed their backup goaltender or starter, or presumably Joey Daccord, to a 5-year contract extension worth about $5 million on average, $25 million. He's looked good. His numbers look spectacular. His winning percentage, he's like above 500 slightly. And I think he is a very valuable piece in the locker room and in the goaltending tandem with Philip Grubauer. I'll say this, that is a big win-win situation right there. And tonight's games, we're talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs against the Montreal Canadiens, the Pittsburgh Penguins against the New York Rangers, Winnipeg Jets against the Edmonton Oilers, the Calgary Flames against Vancouver Canucks, and the Colorado Avalanche against the Vegas Golden Knights. Boy, I love this Wednesday night matchup. You got 2 games on national television. You got all the other games all over Sportsnet in Canada. I mean, this is going to be a unique, fun night tonight, And I'll say this. Toronto, I would like to see Max Pacioretty get something in that, against his former club, the Montreal Canadiens. He's the former captain. I'd like to see Toronto win this one. And then, the delusional sports fans making all the memes every year going, hey, yeah, the Toronto Maple Leafs are undefeated. We're going to go undefeated. We're going to win the Stanley Cup on a scat, man. Yeah, no. Toronto's going to make the playoffs, obviously. And Montreal, they're going to bounce back, on Hockey Night in Canada, possibly. And I see that Toronto wins this one tonight. Pittsburgh Penguins, New York Rangers. This is going to be a close one, close matchup. I like what I see with the New York Rangers and the Pittsburgh Penguins. I mean, Shesterkin, is going to be highly talked about with that rejection of an $88 million contract. This is going to be a testament and an investment and a test on the New York Rangers. Is this their year, or is this the beginning of the window of opportunity closing? The Pittsburgh Penguins window is jammed, but they still have a little life in them, but who knows? I think the goaltending needs a little bit of work, but I see this one's going to be a close battle, and I'm going to go Pittsburgh shootout. They win in a shootout tonight. And then we've got the Winnipeg Jets against the Edmonton Oilers, the reigning Western Conference champ Edmonton Oilers against the Winnipeg Jets. This right here, I am going to say it will be Connor McDavid's mission. Connor McDavid is going to go crazy tonight. I wouldn't be surprised. He's going to get 4 points, 5 points. He's going to get 1 goal, 4 assists, and it's going to be easy cruising victory for the Edmonton Oilers. I wouldn't be surprised. It would be 7-2 or 7-3. The Oilers, they are going to be pissed. They're going to be angry. They're motivated. They're hungry. They are ready to get a Stanley Cup in Edmonton for the first time since 1990 and in Canada since 1993. And over to the Pacific West Coast, Vancouver Canucks are playing against the Calgary Flames in Vancouver. And I got to say, Vancouver's had a rough year, past few years, losing Johnny Gaudreau, Matthew Tkachuk, Sam Bennett. They lost that core. That core could have been a Stanley Cup contender if it weren't for the trades and the debacle of, Tkachuk for Huberdeau. And in my bold prediction in the middle of the season, I wouldn't be surprised that Jonathan Huberdeau will get traded. And the team I'm going to predict that Huberdeau is going to get traded to is the Chicago Blackhawks. You heard it here first. Huberdeau will reignite and resurrect his career while playing with Connor Bedard. I mean, that will make everything happen. And I'll say Vancouver, they've got some great players. Brock Besser, you've got Elias Pettersson, and you've got Quentin Hughes. You've got a great nucleus type of players. And Rick Tocchet, great guy, great coach. And I will say this Vancouver is a team that had climbed into the playoff talk last year. And I think Vancouver will be a playoff team yet again. And Thatcher Demko, he's on the IR. He's still recovering from his injury during the late in the season last year in the playoffs. I think Vancouver, it will be an easy win for them. I believe Vancouver will be 4-1. And then finally, the other matchup is the Colorado Avalanche against Vegas Golden Knights. This matchup right here, we've got a fun matchup between the last Stanley Cup final winners in 2023 and 2022. And this right here, I'm going to go with Colorado. Colorado, Georgiev, he's gonna be lights out. Georgiev is going to be a lights out goaltender. Cal McCarr. This is going to be a close matchup. I believe it's going to be 5-3 Colorado. Vegas, on the other hand, I like what they've got, but I think they'll bounce back the next game. It's going to be a fun night tonight with these matchups, and I'm not gonna lie, this is going to be a fun matchup tonight. And now breaking over to the NCAA, talking about voting. There is a vote coming in about allowing Canadian Hockey League players joining the NHL or the NCAA. I'll tell you, NCAA is going to make the vote. The vote's going to be coming in, and there's a lot of mixed results coming about allowing major junior hockey league players from the CHL into the NCAA. I am intrigued by this situation. And you're going to allow players who play in the OHL, the Q, and the Dub into playing in the NCAA. I'm intrigued. This is going to be a fun. But I would in the near future. It's going to affect rosters, recruiting, everything. I would love to see this happen. And one of my viewers going, NCAA should let the players in because of the new NIL deals. That is a good point right there. I like what I see. Let them join. It's all about money, people. It's all about the Benjamins. And it's all about, and they were saying, about the integrity. The Canadian Hockey League players were professionals. They're hypocrites. The NCAA in football, those guys are pros. Those guys are pros, and we've got a request talking about right now. Marco, what's going on, my man?
Coach Gordo, how you doing, my friend?
We are doing wonderful right now. We are talking about the coolest thing in the NHL right now. It's day 3 of the NHL of the 2 Minutes in the Box new season, and we're talking about the NCAA and the Canadian Hockey League. Marco, ask me, man. So why do you think this should happen?
All right. So why didn't we allow the players who played major juniors in the OHL into the NCAA? Is because they were being paid athletes, right?
Absolutely.
So we said if you let's use Vincent Trocheck, right? So Trocheck went and played for Saginaw, right?
Yes.
So he is making what, $300-400 a week, probably. They're not making a whole lot. But the NCAA says, well, you're now not an amateur athlete, you're a professional athlete, so we're not going to let you in the NCAA. But what are the difference with any of these football players? I'm sure hockey on a smaller rate, these players are now getting paid for their name, image, and likeness.
Exactly.
So if we're allowing these players now to monetize themselves, let's look at Colorado with Dion, right? All those players are getting paid. Livy Dunn, all these players get paid for name, image, and likeness. So let these players come into the NCAA. It's only going to make our product better, right? Because now we're saying a 16-year-old Vincent Trocheck can leave Pittsburgh, go to the OHL, play in the highest league possible.
Right.
And now he turns 19 and say he's not ready. And, all right, I'm going to go to Boston College, BU, Denver, right? And now you're only adding better players in to the NCAA.
Right.
But on the flip side of that, what you're asking, now recruiting. Now let's take someone who's going to go into that American Conference, someone who's going to go to Holy Cross, Bentley, Sacred Heart, Air Force. How do these players now get a spot at a Division I level?
Right.
Right now, are you going to expand roster sizes? You could, but like, would a team want to carry 27 players on the roster and
And
only
it
18
will
can play?
affect scholarship opportunities.
So,
That's the
so,
major problem. And
so now you're getting into that. Now you're getting into that grace. Now that's used like me an example. Okay, so I played Division III. So now that kid who was going to go to Holy Cross, someone from BC gets bumped down because the guy from the OHL goes to BC. That guy goes to Holy Cross. The guy at Holy Cross goes to, Nazareth, where I went, and takes the roster spot of me, right? So now it's like, where's that trickle down effect going to happen, right?
oh,
So
definitely.
that's now for NCAA Division I, that is going to be huge, obviously. But like, where can you cap it? Can you make or promote these bigger Division I schools to go Division I like Arizona State did? Can you say Alabama, Liberty, North Carolina? You guys have rinks on campus.
Absolutely.
Fund the money to go Division I.
Exactly.
That means what? More coaching opportunities. If you have more coaching
Trainers, equipment
opportunities,
room.
you
You've got a lot of opportunity right there. And I thought about this last night, Marco. I thought about this last night. Think about this. Northern Michigan University, their entire roster was gutted because of the NIL deal. And they were like top line guys, and now some of them are like second or maybe third or fourth liners. It can be costly. It's a costly situation where a player can be like, oh yeah, I'm going to go from Northern Michigan University to go to Wisconsin, and now I'm like a third or fourth liner. And it's like, is it really worth it? Is it really worth it?
So let's take the NIL here. Now, it's obviously the NIL is huge in football.
Yes.
Okay, so my brother-in-law was just at University of Pitt, and now he's at Brown University. All right, so now he went from University of Pitt to an Ivy League school. Right.
Yes.
Now these Ivy League schools, they don't do NIL. Now it's different. So like Tiki Barber's kid is playing football at Brown. Okay, so if you go to in Ivy League, go to school like Brown, what do your GPA's got to be a 3.8 or higher. You're obviously going for academics. But what's stopping now these kids who have the high GPA and are a good football player from going to another school, Middle Tennessee or Michigan Tech, like these lower Division I's, and they're going to make $400,000 or $500,000. So it's like, where can the NCAA in a whole start to try to like come up with a system where they can promote everybody and everything? But when it's so money driven, where can you stop? That's Army, Air Force, and Navy, right?
Yes.
You're not getting any transfer portals, right? There's only 4 Division I football teams that did not accept any transfer portal players this year. It was Army, Air Force, Navy, and Clemson. Now, why did Dabo Swinney not take any of the transfer portal people? No idea. That's up to him, right? But what's happened is, I'm going to go to Pitt. I'm a wide receiver as a freshman. I have a good year, but USC comes calling on me and says, well, I'll pay you $1 million to come USC. There's nothing contractual with that player to stay at the school.
Right.
So yes, the NIL is going to be big, especially for the hockey portion, because now we're going to be allowing players to come and play NCAA Division I hockey. So the competition is going to be better. But where do we start saying, okay, you're a collegiate athlete to a pro athlete?
Oh yeah, it's borderline.
So, but that's my NCAA NIL spiel for you there, Gordo.
Oh yeah, I love that, Marco. I love that. That is brilliant right there on your part. And I'll tell you, I wouldn't be surprised that there will be, since Big Ten has got UCLA, USC, Oregon, and Washington. And we've been hearing rumors that UNC is building a brand new hockey rink on campus. We're going to see that the NCAA is going to embrace the more talent, because they're going to generate millions or billions of dollars
Yep.
just to get more revenue in the TV. The players like this, but there's a consequence to that. In small schools, like I mentioned about Northern Michigan, Lake State, and Michigan Tech, their schools, they've got D1 for hockey, but D2 for everything else. That's
Yeah.
the major
Yeah.
concern.
Now,
But honestly, I think this is a good thing because you're creating new opportunity, new jobs, and statistically speaking, the NCAA grade point average and the graduation rate will skyrocket,
now, so,
and it's gonna.
so I'm gonna ask you a question here, Gordo. So why does those schools have Division I hockey programs, Division II, and other programs?
Simple. Michigan Tech's been around in hockey for nearly like 100 years. And, and Houghton, Michigan is the birthplace of hockey. Same thing with Northern Michigan and Marquette. And, Northern Michigan University's been there since the
Yep.
70s. Same thing with Lake Superior State because
Yep.
you're near the border and stuff. And they bring this high profile talent across the border. And recruiting was just simple as that because you bring it, like and back in the day, remember Dougie Waite, he played at Lake State, and
Yeah.
that team was like the U of hockey back in the day. And then, they started losing the momentum, when all the other schools were bringing in more promises and more opportunity. We're talking Michigan Tech hasn't been to the big dance since the 80s. They haven't won a title since the 70s. Northern Michigan hasn't won a national title since 91. Lake State hasn't won anything since 94. And, those schools are coming back, but, they're playing it like it's money ball. It's a money ball thing.
But why can't those schools, let's use RIT. Let's use RIT up in Rochester. So they have a men's Division I hockey program, but all
Right.
their other programs are Division III. And it comes down to what? Money. Right now, yep, there's some Title IX in there. You have to have the same amount of female to male sports. So I understand that. It also comes down to school size, right? If a school's not big enough and has facilities, the NCAA says, well, you know what? You won't be able to host Division I events here, right? When Air Force came into the Atlantic hockey, their first year, they had to play all away games because the NCAA said, hey, your rink is not suitable to host Division I games. So with all this extra money that the NCAA is now making, now you got to start funding that out to schools like a Delaware, to a Liberty,
Syracuse.
to Syracuse, right? Syracuse has got a very good girls program. All right, you guys are very good at the club level. I'm going to start funding you so you guys can open up more scholarships, renovate your rink to now go Division I. So if you allow these OHL players to come, and now you start taking away players, we got to open up more places for players to play, right? So I think as the NCAA is, I'm all for the NIL. Okay, I understand that it's more of a business than student athlete now. I get it. If you're going to walk to the bookstore and buy Johnny Manziel #2 jersey, well, Johnny Manziel better see some of that cash, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Just like Northern, just like, the Fab Five back
Exactly.
in the day. Chris Webber,
So if
Jalen
the
Rose, John Howard.
if the schools and NCAA are going to make money, now start funding the money back so players have places to play. Because I'm worried that you're going to get these 17, 18-year-old, so no, say 18, 19-year-old players from the WHL, the OHL, who went there at 16 because they didn't want to go to prep school or play AAA midget hockey, either because of their location. Maybe it wasn't good enough for them. They were probably too good for those leagues. So what do? Is they go to the OHL. Great. Now, when you come to the NCAA, love it. Now you got it potentially high first-round draft picks coming to NCAA, right? It's making that league better, but now it's taking away a spot from Johnny on that team. And then Johnny goes down and takes a spot from Joey. And then Joey takes a spot away from Marco, right? So now so the NCAA now needs to start taking, okay, we're making all this money from, because with all these players coming over, the competition gets better. And then what else gets better? The TV ratings. Because now the Frozen Four, you're going to watch Denver and BU play instead of two players who are playing, Will Smith and Celebrini who are playing or drafted, you're going to see 7. So now more TV ratings. So Take that money, NCAA, now start funding it back so you can open up more schools. And then what does that do? Like we said, if you open up a school, now you need 3 coaches. You got a head coach, 2 assistants. You need an equipment guy. You need a hockey operations guy. So now you have coaches who are trying to get up those ranks who can't get there because there's 62 Division I schools.
65.
Now you can open 65. Now you open up. Now there's only 65 head coaches. All right, times that by 2. Do your math there. Right now, you're talking. If you start opening up more schools, you open up more opportunities for these younger coaches to come in. Right. So then now you open up more opportunities for these younger players. I mean, because remember, we still got players from Europe coming over. Michigan State had the
big kid from Belarus.
The defenseman who went number 2 overall to
Chicago.
Right. So now it's like, so not only is hockey big enough, is big in North America, it's big in Europe. So if we're going to start allowing all these people coming from all these leagues, well, you better start opening up opportunities for other people, because we're going to just then take away chances from players to play, right?
So, totally.
So I'm gonna get off here in a second, but I want to ask you this. So the Panthers just made a great run the last 2 years. Okay, yes. Obviously losing to Vegas and then winning the Cup last year. A couple years ago, they decided to pay Bobrovsky 10 years, $10 million. I was kind of against it at first. You drafted Spencer Knight, okay. But now after you look back at it, that deal's a steal. You just won your Stanley Cup. Igor turned down 8 years for $11 million and wants more. As a New York Ranger GM, if you're Chris Drury, what do you do? I'm going to sign off here and listen. Love your show. Keep after it, Gordo.
Thank you, Marco.
Stay in touch, buddy. Okay.
Will do, my brother. All right. Give me a call later this week. All right.
All right, buddy.
Great here for you. What a great conversation right there with one of my good colleagues and good friends up in New York. And I'll say this, if I were Chris Drury with Ilya Sorokin or Shesterkin, sorry, it's just kind of crazy, but I got to tell you, this is going to be a unique situation. Trouba kind of cost the Rangers that cap space, because Trouba's wife's doing the whole medicine doctor practice and all that stuff. I get it, but it like I've heard that EA Sports did a 10,000 time simulation and they're projecting that the New York Rangers win the Stanley Cup this year. I mean, goalies, like I said yesterday, it's a scary, risky investment. All contract extensions, are risk taking, If you see a guy, if your top guy you just signed gets hurt, it's game over. I mean, and then you've got a big chunk of cap and then you don't have the wiggle room. I got to tell you, Chris Drury, he's a smart man. I think that Shesterkin will get his contract, but they've got to figure out what to do with Trouba. He's costing you a lot of money. He's not the same player. He was playing hurt throughout the playoffs. And like I said, I'm going to watch his game tonight, and I don't think he's the same player. I think that ankle is still going to be lingering him. And, there's got to be a certain team to take his cap and the role, but I don't think he's going to get traded. And Shesterkin is going to get his money. He's going to get his payday. But don't forget, we're talking about taxes, agent fees, you name it. You've got to make sure he gets the contract, with sponsorship to make sure it's fully guaranteed, people. That's how you're going to get Shesterkin a new contract for the New York Rangers. $11 million a year, $88 million. If you cut that, it's going to be basically he's going to get half of the money. Because like I said, taxes, agent fees, etc. He's got to make his money back some way due to, sponsorship, anything to make his money back. He is a good goaltender. I wouldn't be surprised that he gets he wants to do the Austin Matthews route. He wants to do the Austin Matthews path of signing a contract extension on a maybe 5-year deal to get more money. That's the way I'd see it. Don't go for max contract because you're going to make only half the money. If you get the money, if you get like, Leon Draisaitl 14 million, that right there can put a team over the edge. The cap could go up. It's going to be at $93 million next year. Then the following year, it's going to go up and up. But then there is the CBA expiration date at 2026. That right there is going to be a game changer. There could be a sudden change. If there's a lockout, if there's a dialogue situation, I believe that a deal will get done, but at what cost and if there is a consequence. Is Sidney Crosby still a top 5 player? Absolutely. I believe Sid is still top 5. He's still in the same class, with McDavid, McKinnon, McCarr, and Draisaitl. Sidney Crosby is still a top 5 player in the National Hockey League. This man loves the game. He's going to be a top 5 player all time. But at the end of his career, Sidney Crosby will be, he won't get the Gordie Howe goals. He will definitely be like close to Marcel Dion and Brett Hall goals. Assists, I believe he'll be on the cusp in the top 3 at the end of his career. Sidney Crosby is still a top 5 player in the league. He's still in great shape, and I'm looking forward to watching his game tonight against the New York Rangers. And now, finally, let's get to the chart of the day. So the NHL came up with its annual list of players where they came from. So at number 1, it's no surprise, Canada has 297 players in the National Hockey League. America, USA at 200, Sweden at 66, Russia at 47, Finland at 38, Czechia 22, Swiss 9, Slovakia 8, Germany 7, Latvia 5, Denmark 4, Belarus and Norway 2, Australia, Austria, France, Netherlands, Slovenia at 1 player. Imagine these numbers in the next decade or so. I could see that, USA could be creeping up to Canada. Hockey is booming like crazy in the States. Look at Austin Matthews is your marquee player in the U.S. now. And you've got a lot of good players in America right now, and they are marketable players in the league and their community. I would say, the NHL will be growing as well. And I believe that we're going to see a lot more players, coming into the league in the next decade or so. Like I said, it's going to be, it's going to be multiplied this and that. I believe USA and Canada are going to be close. Then you've got, Sweden and Russia and Finland. Those are the other, and Czech Republic. It's crazy to see that you've got 9 guys out of the Swiss, and don't forget the European leagues are becoming very competitive. And, you're going to see some of the best players out of Europe. They're going to be coming into the NHL. I mean, it's select, The NHL is still a North American league type of thing. I believe that, that European flair and flavor, I see that they will be coming back, coming with more players down the road. And I gotta say this: the NCAA to vote, I gotta believe that the NCAA is going to accept this, and then down in the next 5-10 years, you're going to see more Division I programs and Division III. And to all the players, all the college players who are in a small D1 school who wants to hop over to a major university, think before your decision. And, don't be like, I'm going to go for the money and go from being a top line player in a small D1 school and going to a major university like any Big Ten school and becoming a 3rd or 4th line or a healthy scratch. Come on, people. You got to be cautious and conscientious right in here. All right. This has been 2 Minutes in the Box with Gordo. I'm your host, Gordon Maxwell. Tomorrow, we'll be back here recapping last night's games and recapping any interesting waiver wire, free agency, everything possible in the National Hockey League. I hope everyone has a great rest of the evening. Enjoy hockey, everyone. Thank you very much.